came to build community around conservation, advocacy, stewardship, and recreation.
No, I want you in
the Owyhee region. And I won't go through our long vision, but essentially I want to work with every single person that loves this landscape. The rancher, the motorized recreationist, the backpacker, everything you can think of that loves this landscape. But it's a big landscape, so there's enough room for everybody out here. 7 million for the watershed. We include the front that we're in right now. We're talking about 9 million acres. So
What does that mean, watershed?
the watershed is this map right here. So everything that flows into the Owyhee River. So it's a big landscape. You guys have only barely scratched the surface today. I tell people that I could explore this landscape my entire life and not see it all. It's very big, hard to get around the country. So where we're at today with the vision for this landscape is I was part of a table team working with Oregon Senator Wyden on creating a wilderness bill, and there was 6 folks from the ranching community and 6 folks from the conservation community. We sat down, we created a vision for what this landscape means for the future for everybody. And with that, we just got the bill reintroduced. We're probably going to have a hearing on it in November in DC. But it's going to be 1.13 million acres of wilderness out here in the Oregon part of the Owyhee. Actually broke up into 30 units, so there's still going to be roads dividing it, so you're still able to get around, and so that the rancher can ranch. Here's a map of what that wilderness would look like. The Idaho section already has 400,000 acres of wilderness, so we're looking at 1.4, 1.5 million acres of wilderness.
So they're actually going to make a wilderness area.
So is that going to mean no motorized vehicles?
In the wilderness, but it's broke up into 30 units, so there's roads dividing it. So essentially, there are already wilderness study areas.
Want to get some meat
Managed as wilderness already. So it's been that way since the late 70s, early 80s. So where we're at with that, it's really broke up into 4 sections of wilderness. So I'll talk about a route to send you guys on tomorrow. You guys can drive one of the wilderness boundary roads.
We were going to go down to Birch Creek Ranch tomorrow.
Okay, well you'll be right on the edge of it all again. So Birch Creek Ranch Road will be cherry stemmed in going in, down to Birch Creek Ranch. Go explore Jordan Craters. You can talk to Sammy about Jordan Craters more in a minute. And another route, there's a nice loop that I could send you guys on right here at Camp 2 that would go, you'd see some spectacular scenery just like you've seen at Leslie Gulch today, going along the honeycombs, and you can see the reservoir in a few spots. And anyway, so I'll just kind of stop there, and I just like having conversation around about the landscape, ask questions, have thoughts.
So when did the Hawaiian guys name it? What year?
That was
just a ballpark.
18 teens.
Okay. Early 1800s?
Yeah, it was just, once the Hudson Bay Company got established up in the Vancouver Port area, they sent expeditions out here, the Snake River expeditions, and it was with Mackenzie.
Foxy!
There was a couple. Anyways, he was out here with some of the Hawaiians, and we sent them out here in this landscape to explore. They were probably down at Fort Boise, where the Boise River dumps in the Snake, right where the Owyhee dumps in.
Yeah.
Never heard from them again, so they named the area after them. That's the word Owyhee is the original spelling of Hawaii. So back in the journals of Mackenzie and Ogden, they actually called the river the Sandwich Island River because the Hawaiian Islands were called the Sandwich Islands. And I always joke, like telling people, I wish it would have stayed the Sandwich Island River and the landscape being the Owyhee, but it is what it is. I guess a little quick story too, like what led me down this path to where I am today is I've always had a huge interest in history of this landscape. I started researching that in high school. It's still a hobby of mine. I could talk about this right here where we're camping later, about the history of this place right here and how it was a homestead and everything else.
So family actually homesteaded?
Yep, Dutchers. I could walk to the other side and show you exactly where their cabin was. Everything else, some remnants of what's left there of it, everything. That's cool.
Were they ranching here?
Yeah, they were ranching here.
Okay, so
1917 is when they...
So has the landscape, as far as the hydrology, has that changed at all since they were there, or more rain or less rain?
Probably a little bit less in the scheme of everything. Just that's the trend anyway. Back in the day, there used to be no vegetation along this creek because it was 1970. They built a dam at the headwaters of Sucker Creek for irrigation purposes, which allows the water now to flow year round because this time of year there would be no water.
Okay.
And because of that, because it'd be flash and then nothing, none of this vegetation could get established because the flash would come down, remove all vegetation, then there'd be no water, couldn't establish. So because of that, now we have a nice lush riparian area.
So
Does
it's
this area
pronounced
get
sucker
Oh yeah,
and not
Yeah.
score?
Sucker. Yeah, I mean it's spelled Sucor. I think it was a misspelling back in the day. Actually, Sucor. Let me go back on that. It's actually the meaning of that is in distress is what it was. And supposedly it's when the Oregon Trail, the South Alternative Route, crossed the creek
Yeah.
near where it dumped in, and I think it was with the Utter Massacre, one of them massacres that got its name. And I mean, you look at geology maps and it's spelled correctly, sucker. So it's just
Is this area the snow? Is it under snow for a couple months, or just kind of
no, it's not
come and go?
come and go.
Okay.
I mean, a couple inches at most usually
Yeah,
out here.
okay.
Rarely, I mean, we'll get a good snow rarely,
Okay.
but most of the main roads out here are passable
Yeah. Okay.
year round. But this area, because it's high in ash and clays, you get off these main roads, it's just gumbo. You guys
Right.
have probably dealt with that. And eventually, your wheel wells are completely packed full and can't go anywhere.
Right.
So do you get rain then in the spring?
Yeah, spring out here is absolutely beautiful. It's the best season to be out here. So, I mean, I do most of my trips that I lead out here in spring. I mean, green grasses, wildflowers, clear skies, so.
What kind of trips do you do?
I do a variety of trips. We do geology trips, history trips, just exploration trips, just getting people out on the landscape. So when I started this organization, it was really because I grew up here local and I discovered that a lot of folks really didn't understand what was in their backyard. A lot of old timers I talked to, and they're like, "Oh, I've been up to Lake Owyhee, and we're down 95 to go to Winnemucca." So that was my goal: is get people familiar with their backyard, get them out in there. Locals heard horror stories of people getting lost out here, dying, so they're scared to come out by themselves. So especially if it's wet, So we allow a safe way for folks to come out in a group, and if there's trouble, then there's help,
Yeah.
So.
Now, Sacagawea's son is buried out here?
Yes, down just Danner. It's an old community just west of Jordan Valley. John Baptiste Charbonneau. Yeah, he's 1864, I believe.
Yeah, we saw the grave. That's how we got a flat tire on the car.
Oh.
You have to go over some of the lava in order. We went up Birch Creek.
Oh, you went the long way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I can see why you got that.
We don't want that to happen again. So when we go up Birch Creek tomorrow, just come back. How can we get to the coffee
Go
pot?
to the Coffee Pot Crater. You go out to Birch Creek, and it's literally just 2 more miles. So you get to a Y, you go down to Birch Creek, or you go to the left, and 2 miles you get around the
But we
Coffee.
stay off the really
Lava.
bad lava.
Yeah, you don't go driving. Yeah, but from there, I mean, it'd be a good all-day trip, and I can show you on the map. So one of the things in the bill that I've worked on tremendously about is just economic development, how to funnel people correctly in this landscape, while we also protect it. And so, one thing that's big in the bill that a lot of locals like is we call them loop roads, and one of them is the route you're going on tomorrow. The main route is to Birch Creek and out, but then there's the alternate that you could actually go clear out to Rome. It's about a 50-mile. It's a great, honestly, a Subaru could do that road. So it's a good road. You get to see a lot. I could show it on the map if you guys.
Yeah,
are
that would
interested.
be nice to know.
Yeah.
'Cause we haven't been out to see the Roman.
Yeah, you can see Pillars of Rome. It'll go right by all that.
Now
And,
the pillars are actually are they on private property?
they are on
though?
private, but pillars are
But you can see them right there.
exactly.
Yeah.
You drive right up to the fence, and
Yeah.
pillars are better to look at unless you're a
From a
geologist.
distance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Which I mean, we'll ask Sammy about that later. The formation of that is actually connected to the Alvord.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
when
is
the
it?
Alvord was a lake, it overflowed, and it was like a mini
We
Bonneville.
saw a thing, because we've been to fields quite some time,
Yeah.
quite a number of times.
Yeah. And we actually did a webinar. It's on our YouTube talking about
Oh,
that.
we saw that.
Yeah, we had the guest
That's
speaker
where we
come
There's
saw
on.
it.
actually a route now through
Oh, yeah.
all the way from Bend, all the way through Rome, and all off-road now, or you know,
Yeah.
BLM stuff. So
Yeah, no, I'm aware
it's
of
a
it.
free.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
It goes through the conservation area that's closed part
yeah,
time of the year. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful area.
yeah, it's an awesome area for
I think
sure. I
Steve
mean,
did a few sections of that.
yeah, there's that, and then I mean, for the hikers, the backpackers, we got
Yeah.
the Oregon Desert Trail that comes through. I'm working with another guy to create a bike packing route that's a 1,000-mile loop in southeast Oregon. That essentially the Owyhee section's ready to go. Like, there's like a spot down by Alvord and a spot clear up by Gentura that's still like we got to figure out. But like, more or less, it's ready to go. Which like, there's nothing like that in the United States for a bike packing route. So we're creating a lot of different opportunities for a lot of different interests in this landscape for recreation.
So where you were talking about that was just local around here, where that you would see a lot of different formations and stuff. Where would that be?
A lot of different rock formations.
Yes.
I mean, this section right here, the north section's the most volcanic. It was all explosive volcanism here, so you get a lot of the best rock formations in this area. You get further south, and you've been down by like Three Forks and things like that. You get a lot rolling hills and a deep canyon. It's a completely different landscape. I talk about the Owyhee. It's a very diverse landscape. I mean, you go over to Silver City, Idaho, and you're going to get up in the granites. You can go over south of there, and some of you guys sound like you went on the Owyhee Backcountry Byway. You're going through juniper forest. You get here, the volcanism, Jordan craters. It's like craters of the moon. You get south of there, it's just these rolling hills with a deep canyon. So it's a very diverse landscape.
We went down Leslie Gulch today,
Yeah.
and the rock formations down there. I've never seen anything like that with the pockets. On
The
those.
honeycomb effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's all welded
Is it
volcanic
just
tuff.
volcanic?
It's ash that was so hot it welded together, so it's really soft.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
so-
never seen it. Is that common throughout? 'Cause I've
on
never
this
seen-
north side, like if the other loop I was telling you guys or mentioned, the Board Corral loop that you leave here camp and come back to camp, it could be a good 3/4 of a day trip.
Right.
You'll see a lot more of that. There's a spot,
Okay.
a wilderness study area that's actually called Honeycomb WSA. There's no roads in there. It's a great 10-mile hike loop in there, but yeah, it's just full of that type of formation. so,
Interesting.
yeah, it's all from the same volcanic event. So
No.
And where was the volcano?
Leslie Gulch.
Okay.
It was huge. It's huge.
This is it.
Like we're on the edge of it. Like
Okay.
We were in the caldera.
you were
Okay.
in the caldera in Leslie
Okay,
Gulch.
okay.
So it was like 600 times larger than Mount St.
Okay.
Helens,
Cool.
So,
Interesting.
yeah, it's and it's funny. A lot of locals don't know that either. you
Right.
know. It's You get up like there's a spot. You guys have seen it. It's called Three Fingers. It's just west of here. That
We've been there, yeah.
yeah, it's the edge of the caldera, and there's one of the fingers you can climb up on fairly easy, and you get up there and you kind of see
Then
the
you can kinda
bowl
get it,
effect
yeah.
from there.
But
So,
isn't there another Three Fingers area, like
Three Forks,
Okay,
which is south of Jordan Valley.
and
So
it's more remote.
it's not that remote, really. I mean, it's remote, but it's easy to get to. I mean, I drove a low-sitting Subaru down there one time. I've seen a Toyota Prius down there. So, I mean, it's like you got one section that's kind of rocky, but it's not hard to get in there. So,
And there's supposed to be an area around here with a lot of pockets in it that birds inhabit.
well, a lot of that's the Leslie Gulch, honeycombs, all that.
Is it?
So, yeah, them pockets that form, yeah, just through wind and rain. So,
But a lot of
Ton
birds.
of quail down there.
yeah, a lot of birds hide out there,
Or,
lizards.
not
They
quail,
create good habitat.
grouse.
I mean, you get down like
Rock grouse.
north of Burns Junction. There's lava tubes out there that you can get into. That's just an older lava flow out there. I mean, it's been kind of like the Jordan Craters area has been geologically mapped more than other areas out here, and I think they've identified like a half dozen different lava flows out there. But you get in the canyon, and especially in the south section, to where there's big sheer walls of basalt, and you just see all the different flows. It's just been flow after flow after flow. And then on the geological side, I mean, the south edge of the Owyhee was the Yellowstone hotspot too. So about 15 million years ago. So
Okay.
What kind of predators do you have out here?
coyotes, cougars,
Coyotes,
bobcats, yeah. I don't think bears, but I mean maybe
So you got
occasionally.
mountain lions on here, really?
What?
Mountain lions?
Oh yeah. First time I seen mountain lion was in Wesley Gulch with 3 kittens. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, we cowboy camped all night,
Uh-huh.
about a half mile away from them. Got up at sunrise and went and watched them for a couple hours. So had a long conversation because I had friends that were getting ready to deer hunt and they were scouting like 2 days before and they had a cougar tag and they're like, do we? And like they were from Bend and they're like, they decided not to because they're like, well, if I do this, then I'm gonna have to run it back to Bend, and like they wanted to be here for opening day for mule deer season. So yeah, but it was fun watching. So they were filming their hunt, so like they had good video stuff about that. And the Owyhee Sportsman Coalition, I'm a part of that. Like that film was created for the sportsman aspect for protecting this landscape. So
Any big birds of prey and
I mean, golden eagles, bald
Okay.
eagles,
Yep.
lots of different other. I mean, you got the Monterey Nelson birds of prey right next to us, so like that's got some of the highest population centers, and this area is right on the edge of it. Great habitat for them. So I mean, I've seen a lot of golden eagles out here and a lot of.
That
other-
must have been a golden we saw. Did you see
yeah,
it?
yeah, I did. Yep.
There was a time I was rolling into Birch Creek, right on the top rim, and there was something dead on the road. And a golden eagle jumped out right in front of me,
7
like
foot
wingspan as wide as road. I'm like,
Look at pterodactyl!
I couldn't get the phone out fast enough to get a picture, you know.
We were driving through the Oklahoma Panhandle, right on the very western edge of it, and I came around a turn, and as I came around a turn, a golden eagle did a stoop down into a prairie dog town, picked up a prairie dog, come right up in the front of my truck, saw my truck coming right at him, let that prairie dog scatter, dropped, and he went for the nearest hole.
Wow. Save that prairie dog's life. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting things out here that I've seen over the years, and haven't seen anything as cool as that. But I mean, we got osprey. I've seen them carrying fish out of the river.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now they hang around the water features, though, don't they?
yeah. I mean, I've seen them here once or twice, but yeah, they follow the route. I've seen turkeys here too, which is weird.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
Seen
thought I
them.
heard some.
We saw some big
I
tracks.
saw turkeys.
At
Yeah, I thought I heard
Leslie
one
Gulch
yesterday.
today. The tracks
Yeah.
were about that long, so
Yeah.
we figured it must be turkeys.
Oh yeah, turkeys or
Yeah, I saw
chukars.
them on my way in.
I think the last time we were down here, which 6 weeks, 2 months ago, we saw a lot of turkeys.
Yeah,
The birds.
I've seen them a few times. Like one of the ranchers just south of here, he sees them all the time. I mean,
Now, is ranch land all private or is it leased from the
it's
government?
all leased out here, and this county is 74% public land, so it's all majority public land grazing. So
And we were surprised to see the cattle in the state park.
yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
Okay.
We work with the state parks a lot. Like I took a couple pictures. On them.
Hey!
Like this is a Sucker Creek State Natural Area, and state parks are like cows aren't part of the natural cycle in this natural area.
Yeah.
So
Right.
they've been at it for years. I'll just leave it at that.
All right, fair enough. We got it.
And I'll add one more story. Like, and they cleaned up. So I think it was 2017. We had snowpocalypse, and like we had 100-year snow event out here. And there was a bunch of cows that actually got stuck down here, and like I came down here just after the snow came off, and it was a feeding lot down here. Feedlot. It was terrible, and like, but the rancher like came down and raked it all out. It was good, but like he talked to me later. I know him, and he was like, "Yeah, we just one of them rocks in a hard place, you know, couldn't get him out, you know." So
But the ranch is down about 5 miles. Those are private.
private ranches,
Yeah.
yeah. You got McKenzie's and Cunningham's, Allison's, and Greeley, I think out there. So yeah.
That's a long way from.
Oh, there's some much further. My brother worked on a ranch clear down by Three Forks, up right on the state line, up in that huge chunk of state land down there for 5 years. He lived out there by himself. So
Oh, wow.
that's remote.
Yeah.
I was like, guys calling him a modern day mountain man out there, you know, living off the grid. Only fired up the generator at night for a few little
Oh,
things,
wow.
and that was it.
And there's no easy way to get to anything, really.
Yeah, we'd come into town once a week, and you know,
Which town?
Jordan Valley just
Oh,
to
jeez.
just to get milk, and that's about it. You know, and about once a month come in to get main groceries.
Practice your English.
Yeah. Yeah. He watched a lot of movies. He had a huge movie collection while he was there.
Biggest marks?
No.
No.
These guys have fiber running right by their front door, though.
No. Yeah. Well, a lot of them now are getting like that Starlink.
Starlink, yeah.
Yeah. like the irrigation district below the dam. They have started. Yeah, I have a buddy that works there, so
Yeah,
I'm
we
connected
were
to it, and it's pretty dang fast, really.
Yeah, 3 of us were down by Jarvage. We caught a Starlink release.
Oh yeah, I seen it like.
It's really important for me to go out and look at rocks out there. I mean, private land's really important too, but start making these broad maps and do research. It's all public land. So I had been using public land as in kind of that way and teaching for quite a while, and moved here, and I didn't know where to go in this landscape, or same thing. Like, what roads do I go? Where do I take my kids out to see nature? And I saw this guy in the paper. He had been starting to take people out, a couple of groups, and thought that was the guy then. So then it was probably that spring we arranged a geology field trip here, and did a little bit here. And then pretty much ever since then, I've been trying to hang out with him as much as possible, and go on roads and go on new places and all this stuff. Started working for photo full-time in 2020. It was a real interesting, awesome 4 months until it was all the shifting about. But I think all of that has just made us more resilient, strong. Sometimes when things get beat up, that makes you a little stronger. But so work for Friends of the Owyhee. I still teach geology at Treasure Valley Community College. I teach in the summers usually for University of Oregon, doing geology stuff out here. Had 10 students out here about a month ago to come look at these rocks. But that's kind of what I'm up to. This was a surprise for me, and this is cool. You guys are cool. Look at all these rigs and stuff. You know what you're doing. And Richard was telling me a little about ethics that go along with this. I can pick up from your questions.
Yeah.
You guys have high ethics, and you care about the cleanups, and
Leave it better than you find it.
yeah. If we could all start out that way, then things would be a lot better. And so big parts of what we, I think, as a group and as Friends of the Owyhee, recreation pressure is one of the big things that we're not combating, because we invite, but also like not with the big coolers dumped over on the other side of the Leslie Gulch kind of thing. Not that there was that, but what are the delicate pressures and gives and takes of doing stuff out here? So it's a pleasure to meet y'all for your luau here. How was the pork?
Good.
Damn, good.
That was good.
I liked it.
Hey, question for you. You saw Tim drove in a Toyota. Do you drive a Jeep or a Toyota?
Neither.
Neither.
Yeah.
It sounds like that Toyota that was donated, right?
Yeah, the Toyota was donated.
That's not his fault if you have that, okay? I mean,
I actually drive
great.
a Jeep, so.
Good answer.
And you have a Nissan?
Yeah, I'm in an Xterra.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's all right.
yeah.
Okay.
That's what I
It's a
started.
pretty open,
Yeah.
It's funny that he has a Nissan, because like when I really first started going deep on the Owyhee, I had an Xterra as well. I got it at 80,000 miles, and when the second timing belt that I put in it finally broke, when my wife was driving it, it was at 236,000 miles, and a large part was off-road.
Yeah, I've been out of Utah with friends that have Utah, Big Bend.
They're good off-road rigs.
Yeah,
Good work. I noticed the recovery shirt over there. You do a little of that?
A little bit. It's actually with this group Gambler 500. So yeah, so it's I go out with my Jeep, and
What Jeep do you have? What do you
I
got?
have an 08 Rubicon.
Okay, cool.
so
Close.
JK.
Yeah.
I
Gen
have,
one.
JKU. So.
Yeah.
I have a, I have a 07.
Okay.
So
Same thing.
mine in the
Exactly
Rubicon,
same thing,
but mine is so built you probably think it was a Rubicon.
Yeah.
But you also have a Gladiator.
Yeah, the Gladiator here is mine
Yeah.
also. I brought that this trip.
Yeah. Mine's not really built up that much. I mean, I get some new
You're
sway
very
bars to put
capable.
on it, but that's really about it.
Out of the box.
Yeah.
So I listened to the webinar that y'all had about how this area was formed. And maybe Sammy can, it was just amazing that this is really the result of the ice retreating and water.
Yeah, it depends on what webinar you listened to,
Yeah.
too. So, has anybody else listened to any of those things?
No.
Anybody familiar with the geology around here or elsewhere? Anybody care about rocks? Oh, I got you to shake the other way. Okay. So what Richard's alluding or talking about was about 2-3 months ago. We had this fellow that did his PhD at the corner between Rome and Basque State McDermott and going to Rome, you cross this river, Crooked Creek. And that thing, Lake Alvord, which is this big flat playa out there just below the Steens Mountains. Oh, did I call it Lake Alvord?
Yeah,
I meant lake or playa, you know. But yeah, it was a lake during the Ice Age. And that thing, it was filled up so high, just like the Salt Lake or some other areas, that it overtopped. It went into Coyote Basin, which is another one of these playas y'all were talking about. And then that was already full of a lake, so it filled up again and it dumped into Crooked Creek, the upper part of that drainage, which goes into the Owyhee. So there's this catastrophic flood event out of those lakes, and that flood, while he was given the numbers, he's given these things in, not cubic feet per second in metric, right? And but did a quick back of the envelope calculation, and somewhere around like 1 million to 1.2 million CFS, like that. So I carved out a little canyon right there, and that's just one of the dozens and hundreds of really amazing geologic stories that go along with this 7 million acre landscape. And that's a little place right over there. But right here, these rocks that you're looking at, this is McIntyre Ridge. Back here, you've probably seen that labeled on the map. You might drive around up there tomorrow. So this rock we're looking at is called a rhyolite. Has anybody ever heard of that? Because it's in other states and other places, right? So the rhyolite here, it's the McIntyre rhyolite, and it's about 15.9 million years old is the most recent date. And what makes a lot of these jagged cliffs, and you'll see that this is just, there's this front of the canyon, then it's kind of flat, and then it'll have another big jump, and then it's kind of flat, there's another big jump. And kind of like you're talking about Nevada there, basin and range geology, where you have the basins that have dropped down from the faults. So this is actually a system of faults where this rhyolite was kind of a big dome, and there's multiple faults that have gone through it that have dropped it down in this direction. And then the kind of cragginess that you see, I've been thinking about this a lot over the years, and if you start going along and looking at all the cracks, the joints, a lot of this stuff is cooling joints. And so when rock freezes, it contracts, total opposite of ice, because ice is weird, water is weird. So it contracts and it makes these little joints between it. If you start looking at all those things, you get an idea of the kind of tumultuous flow that this lava was undergoing. This is a big lava flow, a rhyolite. And I think a lot of these stacks and these crags were areas where new material was being injected into this slightly frozen material. If they were different compositions of rocks, you might call them dikes, basaltic or rhyolite dikes kind of thing. But it's an amazing formation, right? It's like nothing else. You might call it a hoodoo at first if you're from like Utah area, but a hoodoo implies a different style of formation. There's kind of their own thing.
What causes those big caves?
Somewhat of I'll point at the same thing, is those orientations of those cracks give rise to weaknesses, and then any of this carving that's happened down this river, it probably started up there, those could have been little eddies at river level at one time.
So it had nothing to do with the lava cooling like a lava tube.
Like a lava tube. Nope. Yeah, a lot of people. There's other areas around here too, where some people call them lava tubes, but those are more in basaltic lava fields where you get those.
Can you explain what a thunder egg is?
Yeah, thunder egg. It's real important here. You're standing in the one of the capitals of the thunder eggs. It's our state rock.
Yep.
Pretty cool. Are you an Oregonian?
No. I live in Colorado.
Okay.
But I've heard about thunder eggs. In fact, is it legal if I find them to take one?
No. In fact, it's encouraged here.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right,
Find them and take them.
I'm gonna go look for some.
So yeah, so I'm glad you asked about them because they are geologically predictable, kind of like gold and silver. There's a system that goes along with this stuff. It's not just random, finding stuff along the ground. And they're not like plants. They don't have a specific habitat, but they have a geologic occurrence. So this rhyolite, this lava flow, it flowed on top of a formation called the Sucker Creek Formation. So have you guys driven north on this road out to Ontario
Some
before?
of us came down this way.
So when you come into this canyon, on both sides there's kind of some lighter colored, even greenish rocks that line the canyon.
We saw those.
So a lot of that stuff is this older formation that's underneath the rhyolite. And if you look closely at the Sucker Creek Formation, as researchers have done and poured over it. It's sedimentary rock, layer by layer by layer by layer by layer. And a lot of those things are clay stones and silt stones and lake deposits and overbank flood deposits from rivers, like 17 million years ago. So it's pretty old. But the reason that's important is those were kind of wet sediments. You know, imagine like a wet meadow. It's all peaceful, wet meadow, and then this big rhyolite lava flow comes encroaching in. It's not a fast-moving lava. It's kind of just slow, like toothpaste. And as it runs over that wet sediment, I mean, what happens when you get, 1,200 degrees Celsius lava next to
rock.
next to water, right?
Yeah.
Well, it turns to steam.
Yeah.
And it just goes directly up into the lava, and it makes these bubbles. That's the incipient thunderite. So you might think of that as a geode at first, especially if it lined with a cavity. So you start with hot water coming up that lines the cavity with crystals, and then eventually, after everything's all cooled down, groundwater or meteoric water from above makes its way through cracks, and it deposits opals and agates in the middle, and it closes up the whole thunder egg. So a geode's open, a thunder egg's closed, and then these ones here you find then right at the bottom of the McIntyre rhyolite. So geologically, as you're driving down the road anywhere here, if you can identify flat-lying sedimentary rocks below, and then the rhyolite above,
Yeah.
it's probably a thunder egg bed right there.
Cool.
It's pretty predictable. Yeah.
Is that thunder eggs at the base of that cave up there? Or in that cave up there?
I mean, it's mostly picked over by
Yeah,
this.
no,
guy.
that-
He climbed up there and took
But
pictures
that's what
of
we're
it.
talking
you did,
about.
okay.
Right?
Yeah, all
Yeah.
those pockets.
All
and
those little
holes.
pockets?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Those
Okay.
are kind of like failed thunder eggs.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
that they just either
Dead
fluid escaped, never precipitated in there.
Right, right.
Some of them are just duds.
Yeah, okay.
But, yeah, same kind
But
of
you
thing
can
you're
see the
looking for.
formations up there really clearly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And you went to Leslie Gulch today?
Yes.
Yep.
Right? Also a very spectacular, beautiful area,
Yes.
right? Sometimes as a geologist, I feel like a total goof because I'm nerding out on the rock type, and sometimes it can taken away from beauty of landscapes, right? But then I got to turn that off, and then it's fine. But so Leslie Gulch, it is a beautiful place, but it's also the site of like a very violent story, even more violent than this whole thunder egg thing. Did you read any of the signs down there?
No.
There's only one sign that gives the story away, so nobody
really.
knows.
That's
Anybody
probably the
look
one.
at the rock?
Not up close.
Not up close.
I took about
Kind
500
of yellowish.
I
Yellowish
think many of
orange.
us were just
We-
shock and awe.
We heard about the guy who,
What is this?
we read about the guy who got struck by lightning, Leslie.
Oh, up at the top. Leslie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that and this are related somewhat. This happened first. This is about 15.9 million years old, and only about 100,000 years later, only 100,000 years later, on like one fateful day when nothing else was going on, this big, huge, I mean that's even an understatement, massive volcanic eruption from a caldera or hole about 14 kilometers wide or long and 8 kilometers wide. Big hole in the ground developed as all this ash was exploded up into the air, erupted into the air. So magma chamber below, probably pretty big, and as that's evacuating ash out, the land above can't support that weight anymore, so it collapses in. Kind of like Crater Lake. You've heard of that story, Crater Lake, or all the other calderas that are here to Yellowstone, big super volcanoes, right? That's why we call them super volcanoes, is all of that ash erupts out all at one time, one fateful day, and that amount of ash probably spread from here to Nebraska, at least. There's the Jarbidge caldera, just a little bit east of us, and that one is known. The rhino fossil bed that's there, quarry, that's all Jarbidge ash. So this volcano probably had enough ash to blow over Nebraska too.
Yeah, we camped on the way up through